Hey adventurers, so today is going to be more of a get to know us type video, and that is going to be who are our top 5 favorite authors. And of course, because we haven't done a whole lot of reading, these are subject to change, and we will most likely revisit this video and probably remake it in 3, 6, 12 months, something like that. I don't know, we'll see.
Relatively soon.
Yeah.
Starting right off, my first author is Louisa May Alcott, and I started loving her writing through Little Women, which we've discussed multiple times on the channel already. She was a childhood favorite author. I've read some of her other works, and I really love her writing style, and I love the stories she creates and how timeless they are. So I listed her as one of my top 5 favorite authors.
My first is j.r.r. Tolkien. Pretty obvious. I've talked about him multiple times on this channel, and if you hadn't realized that he was one of my favorite authors or that he would make this list, you probably haven't been watching the channel for that long. The book that I would say really got me into loving him was probably The Hobbit, and I think lots of times I would probably say Lord of the Rings over The Hobbit, but after I thought about it, I think that The Hobbit really drew me in a lot more and made me love his writing and his world building a lot more, because it was just a more simple story. As much as I love the complexity of the Lord of the Rings and the Silmarillion and the rest of Tolkien's works, I think the simplicity of The Hobbit really helped me fall in love with this author.
So the next author that I have on my list is Rick Riordan, and I started falling in love with his writing. I think his writing style is what really makes me like his writing, with Percy Jackson and the Olympian series. So, yeah. And something that I want to throw in here before we get too much further along, I heard someone say that you can be a fan of someone without agreeing or liking everything they say or do.
Yes.
And I think that's very applicable with writers, because there's always books that something about a book we're not going to like or isn't going to settle with us, right? Or maybe it's just not one of their best works. And I think that's something we should keep in mind. These are ones that we picked because we felt overall we liked them better than some others. They stood out to us overall.
So of course, another author I've talked a lot about on this channel is Brandon Sanderson. For me, the Mistborn series was the first series that I read, and that is absolutely what drew me in and made me love this author. I've also listened to Elantris, which I thought was amazing, even though most people say that it's not his best published work. I thought it was still really good. Beside that, I'm just really loving exploring his Stormlight archives right now. It's just been such a fun adventure so far.
So the next author I have is Lois Lowry, who is the author of The Giver and The Giver Quartet. The Giver is hands down one of my all-time favorite books. I really love this. She does an incredible job with the whole world that she creates and how it all fits together, and just the way that she tells us the story. I guess it's not even just her writing style that appeals to me. It's so much more than that. Her whole process, I love.
The third author that I have on this list is Brian Jacques. I've talked a little bit about him on this channel. He's the author of the Redwall series. And as much as I love the Redwall series, I think there's one specific book that I can say specifically drew me in. And that is Madame Mayo. This one was interesting because it's the direct sequel to Redwall, which is basically everybody needs to read Redwall if you're reading the Redwall series type story. And Madame Mayo, it departs from the tone of most of the other Redwall books, and it goes into a far more darker tone, and it's creepy and it's weird and it's very different from all the other ones. And for some reason that really resonated with me. Maybe because it was so different, you get to actually see his range as an author. And so that's one. Madame Mayo is probably my favorite. Probably is my favorite Redwall book.
So the next book on my list, or the next author rather, is Suzanne Collins, and I love her because of her Little Bear series. Just kidding. I love her because of the Hunger Games series. Little Bear was a big part of my life growing up. My childhood books, those were one of the ones I read and watched. Wasn't there like a series or something?
I think so.
Watched Little Bear at Grandma's.
Yeah.
So, no, I really loved the Hunger Games. There's some really, really great qualities, and once again, it's the world that really drew me in and the way she portrayed it. Her writing style is very appealing, although I do find myself noticing bits of her style that pull me out of the story. So her writing style isn't perfect, but it is good.
My next author is one that is a very famous classical author, and one that I actually haven't read that much of his works, but I'm specifically thinking of one of his poems that is probably my favorite poem of all time. I haven't really talked about it, but I do have a huge love and respect for poetry. And that poem is The Jabberwocky by Lewis Carroll. So Lewis Carroll, he's probably best known for Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass and all those books. But seeing as I haven't read those, I still wanted to include him because I love The Jabberwocky so much. It's just so whimsical and so fun and so random, and yet it tells a story. And I just really like The Jabberwocky. 'Twas thrilling,
and the slithy toes did gyre and gimble in the waves. All mimsy where the borrow grows, and the moan rasped out. So, the next author for me is J.K. Rowling. She's a fairly new author for me personally, because we read the Harry Potter series for the first time this past fall, or this past winter at holiday season. She is one of my favorite authors. I loved her writing style. I loved the Harry Potter series. I haven't read anything else by her except for Harry Potter. So that's kind of where the situation is. I don't know a lot of her works, and it's almost the same with Suzanne Collins. I've read quite a bit of the other authors, I guess.
Yeah.
Suzanne Collins and J.K. Rowling are probably the ones I know the least of their overall works. So, I really love J.K. Rowling and her work in the Harry Potter series.
And the final author on my list of current top five, is LAmour. I guess we've talked a little bit about him because he writes westerns, but we haven't really talked too much. I've read probably 10 of his books, and I really love his writing style, but I don't know, I'd say that there's a couple books that really stood out to me. Obviously, the first one that I ever read by him stands out, and I love that one. That one was To Tame a Land. But I think the one that really drew me in the most was Jubal Sackett. I think that's the 4th or 5th or something like that in the Sackett series. And I don't know why, but that one, I just really loved that story. It was very different from the other ones that I'd read up to that point, but I don't know, I really loved that one. So that concludes our video on our top 5 authors. Obviously, this is 5 authors from Tony's point of view and 5 authors from Kate's point of view, so a total of 10 authors.
Good math.
Thank you.
If any of these authors are your favorites, please let us know down below. We'd love to chat about them and talk about some of our favorite works that we share.
Anyways, we hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and comment down below. Also, follow us on Instagram if you haven't already, and yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Stay warm.